I do want to address the face of this toxic masculinity these days, which is none other than our friend Andrew Tate.
We're gonna blame the men for your poor decision? You picked to do it.
That's great that you feel that way, but it's still sex trafficking. Your personal feelings don't matter.
They weren't complaining about the money.
But he was actively stealing from them.
Yeah, he admits
It's not
that.
actively-
He does admit
He
that.
literally said,
Yeah.
when you're filling out these dumb women's tax forms, you can lie to them about the tax forms and take 20, 40% off the top.
That
he
is
literally
where
said
I
that.
think you were right.
I'm not asking about what the punishment should be for the women. They've probably been punished enough, I imagine, if they worked and had money stolen from them. What we're talking about was what Andrew Tate did, which is sex trafficking, right? There are probably women that make bad decisions.
Allegedly.
But I'm saying, why is
Allegedly.
That's what
it-
he's charged with. That's
why
what he's
is
charged with.
Allegedly.
Why
Let's
is
just be
it, why
clear
is it
about
wrong
that.
if they
It's not
freely chose to do
proven.
it?
Why is it wrong if I get somebody in a relationship with me and then I'm able to flip that into them working as a prostitute for me?
For some reason, I'm like obsessed with this straw man argument thing because you've used it a few times.
This is literally
Hear
what he
me
talks
out,
about,
bro. So there's this term like toxic masculinity these days, which I think is just an
A
absurd
great term.
I
Describes
think
a
it's
lot
a
of
great
toxic
term.
masculine traits.
So
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I think there's just
God.
toxic people. I think there's toxic women that you should stay the hell away from. I think there's toxic men who are f***ing idiots and cavemen. You should stay away from them. I think it's an unfair label.
There are traits that are unique to men that get toxically exemplified, no?
Such as?
Like the ability to never show any emotion ever and to be a stoic person that keeps it all inside and like never...
There's a lot of benefits to being a stoic, though.
Not a
I
healthy
would say
stoic that processes and doesn't repress everything.
Yes.
But like you should be able to have I think that not being able to have a conversation relating to your emotions, I think is a huge sign of insecurity and weakness.
Yeah, but there's a difference between having emotions and being a human and being an emotional man. There's a
yeah,
big
but this
difference.
is like, you guys don't believe, why do you bring this up? Like you will, okay, every time, okay, you might not believe this. I'll give you a little bit of credit, okay? And I don't think Alex does. I don't know about you. Okay, people will do this shit where they'll be like, oh no, when we say like don't be overly emotional, what we mean is like don't cry all the time and blah, 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 blah. If that's all you were saying, I'd be cool with that. But a lot of these people here are like, if you ever show any vulnerability to your woman ever, she'll leave you.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not, but it's not like...
It's true what?
Like Freshman Fit says that all the time.
Yeah, and that Hamas guy that wears the
Hamza.
robes all the time,
Yeah,
or Hamza,
yeah,
whatever the fuck, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who says what, but the message that I've generally understood is that it's kind of like you just don't know. Every woman's different, and how much emotion that she's willing to like put up with differs on the women. So a lot of guys just say it's easier just to not.
I think Destiny actually makes a very valid point here, to be honest with you. There's a fine line. So I like always using a 1 through 10 scale, right? 10 is being like, showing no emotion whatsoever. I will never be vulnerable with my girl. And 1 is being a crying f***ing baby. I don't think you should be either. I think you should find a f***ing balance. I think appropriate balance is probably being an 8. Being a man, but also having some emotion. Do you understand? Do you see what I'm saying here?
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but like the number is meaningless. That's going to mean different things to different people. Like an 8 for some person might be like, the only time I'm going to cry is if both my parents die within 12 hours of each other, right? Or some people might mean like an 8 is like, I had a bad day at work and I'm going to vent a little bit. Like it just depends.
I actually think a 1 through 10 is very fair.
All I know is the men that I respect the most in my life, I've barely ever seen cry. So, but...
So I think that a healthier engagement with the question is, I'm going to go back to the thing we said before. I think the confidence is the thing that underpins all of it, right? If I'm upset and you see me upset, and I'm not playing League of Legends, it's because some serious shit happened, right? It's supposed to be like the archetype of like, dad is crying. That means something really bad happened. There's some crazy shit happened, right?
I agree.
So like, yeah, like I think it's okay to get emotional over things, but as long as it's something like serious happened. And I think it's better to be able to show that and share that with your partner than to like keep it all up. But like if you come home and you're like crying because you had like a bad interaction with a customer, yeah, of course. But again, the problem there isn't whether you're emotional or too emotional. It's like it's a lack of like confidence that is like showing like an emotional instability, I think, which is the problem.
I think it's ultimately because we talked about the people that are saying they should never cry, you should never do anything like that. I think it's just a backlash to basically what's been happening in society, this feminization of men, and men aren't being real men anymore. There is stats out there that show like how men were more manly, World War II, serving your country, versus men out there. It's like there's guys that, you know, grandpa died or like almost gave his life up in World War II, and you're crying over a video game because you got shot and killed. But there is this like coddling of young men today where it's like the term man up. They used to be like, yo, man up. Now that's like, you can get in trouble
Yeah, but you
for
can't-
telling
I
someone
can't-
to
you can't
man
take
up.
a-
I just think as women, like we're looking for someone that stays strong when shit hits the fan.
Exactly.
And it's not to say that you can never, ever show any ounce of emotion, but I just think in general, it's better to err on the side of caution.
I think we have to recognize that where we were before was unacceptable. Where we were 20 years ago was not acceptable. Where men are killing themselves at what, 3, 4, 5 times the rate of women? Where men are too scared to seek help for like psychiatric problems, where men leave the military and they go.
Has the suicide rate gone down since? I don't actually know. Has it gone down since like
It's gone down
100
bit,
years
but
ago?
still
Yeah, I think it's still higher for men. But I'm just saying, like,
no,
was it
I'm
the
saying,
highest
no,
in
I
the
meant
80s?
like, so if like, let's
Or
say 1
70s?
out of every 100 men committed suicide 100 years ago, is it 2 today? Is it 0.5 today?
It's way more
I
than
just
it
don't
was
know.
100 years ago.
It's there's
So
more
why
men
is that?
committing suicide
Why
today.
are men struggling and committing
Oh.
suicide more than ever now? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm asking the question. I
No,
don't
but
actually
he said,
know.
are those the stats?
I believe it. I looked at this at what debate I did. I think it was like in the 70s. It was like we hit a crescendo with like the most amount of male suicides, and then it's gone down a little bit, but now it's rising again.
So is that, by the way, is there, we don't have the answers here, but is it younger men?
No,
I
I think
didn't
it's
look- I didn't
normally
look at the ages.
it's people always think it's teens that are killing themselves, but I don't think that's the
I
case.
guess
The biggest
45.
the bracket is around 45.
Yeah.
I think it's when people are leaving, you get kind of lonely, you get disconnected from the world, and then you're kind of like.
So
down at that point.
I have 3 things that are coming to mind here.
Wait, before your 3
Yeah.
things, I just want to say before
Yeah.
that, like, if we're going to do like male advice or male empowerment, like, I don't even use the term because I know it triggers the of everybody, but like we have to be able to talk about some concepts related to toxic masculinity that keep men down. And one of those is the inability to process emotions. I'm not saying you've got to go around and be like, and I admit.
Can I have an example of what that means?
As in, like, when you, like, here's an example, okay? Men cannot have conversations about their emotions ever, okay? If a girl goes out with a guy and she comes back and she's talking to her friends, right? Oh my God, I met this guy, he was super cool, he's a blah, blah, blah. Like, a guy will go out, meet the woman of his dreams, go home to his friends, and everybody's like, oh, how was it? And the guy's like, cool. And that's all he says, ever,
Okay.
right? This is why, like,
Is there something wrong with that?
Yes.
Oh, why?
It's so toxic because men friendships suck. We get so little out of friendships, and I think it's one of the reasons why men are so desperate for relationships with women. And I think it also ties into, I think it ties into so many other things. It's one of the reasons why I hear women will complain that when they go on first dates with guys, they feel like they're their therapist or their moms. And I think oftentimes because guys have nobody that they talk to in their lives about anything. I think it's why when
What
breakups.
guys are they dating?
No,
This
I
is
agree
so
with
common.
Destiny
This
on
is
this.
so
Yeah, this is
common.
really
Or it's
common.
another big reason is why, like, whenever you see like breakups happen, I've heard a lot of red pill guys says women always get so much credit when there's a breakup, and guys always get shit on, like they're always blamed. If there's like cheating going on, women get so much more leeway than men. It's because when women have problems in their relationships, they're telling all their girlfriends about it. Like, oh, my boyfriend does this, my husband does this, and I don't like it. So when something happens, yeah, they're way more ready to like side with their girlfriend. For guys, you know, again, like the woman might, you know, be like cutting his tires every day before he goes to work, and you know, guys are like, oh, how's everything going at home? You're like, it's okay, and that's like all they say. Like our relationships are really, really, really bad. The way we communicate with each other is really, really, really bad.
I'll use our friend Dave Chappelle as an example here of
friend
a
Dave
story
Chappelle,
that he told, and I'll give you my feedback. He says that like basically men are just like black and white, more rational. Women are so emotional. Where it's like he did this a whole big stand up. It's like. She's like, so what happened? I met Dave, went to the park, punched a guy in the face. That's it. I'm out. That's the man's story. Where the woman's story was like, well, you have to understand that I was on my period that day. And she said something really wrong to me. And then what happened is I was feeling a triggered way. And then what happened was that then Sheila walked in and it's like, Jesus, it's so fucked. I just want to know what happened. So there's 2 conflicting ideologies and like how men and women operate. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And that's just how men operate. So women, they're always going to be more emotional. It's not about the actual facts of the story. It's going to be how they felt and how you made them feel and whatever. Like, anyway. But as far as men go, I don't know. I can only say what I know. I have homies that I've been friends with forever. I could say everything I want to them up to an extent. Because as a man, you know, you can give your boys maybe 80 or 90% of the story, and there's maybe like 10% of it you'll leave out because you don't want to go, like you don't want to reveal too much to the dude. So I actually agree with what you're saying to an extent, meaning if I had an issue and I was some girl I was seeing, I'd be like, yeah, so we went on this date, and this, that, whatever. And I would be like, we would have the surface level conversation just to get it off your chest. But maybe there's a little like, you know, below the iceberg type of thing that you won't reveal. So I don't know if I buy the notion
that matters.
Well, right, but I don't know if I buy the notion that men have no friends and they have no one to talk to. I would highly encourage men to have friends that they should talk to.
But mastering-
100%.
It's not every man. There's some men who do. I do also have really good friends I can talk to. But there is a lot of dudes who, yeah, like Destiny is right. Like when they show up on a date, it is like a therapy session because they've been withholding their emotions for so long, and then there's just finally someone, and they spend 2 hours just like complaining to their
Unloading.
girl. Yeah,
That's the worst thing a guy could ever do.
I know, but
is that you bottle up all your emotions, you don't talk to your boys, and you're gonna go
never happened
fucking
to me.
blow it on a date with a girl
I
when you
know.
should be asking questions.
But the reason
you
is because he has no-
moron, shut
Right.
up and ask questions. Now's not the time to be emotional in some girl you just met.
right. But the reason is because he has no one he can share with.
Ugh,
But
find a
part
friend,
of,
homie.
But part of the emotions is not just being like emotional like a woman and crying. Like there's also anger. That's an emotion that men
Sure.
tend to have as well. And if they don't know how to handle that and maintain that, then that leads to them lashing out, you know, making decisions out of being at a high emotion and not knowing how to control it. So I do think it is important that men do learn how to master all of the emotions, not just when you're sad or when you're happy, but also when you're angry, because a lot of times men will be in positions with high pressure. And if they don't know how to manage that emotional time, that they could turn into a completely different direction of where they were trying to go. So I think men expressing their emotion, there is a time and a place for it. Now, do I think they should be crying all the time? No, absolutely not. But I think there is strength in a man who knows how to handle all of his emotions, because it's reliable. You know, as a woman, you're like, okay, he's upset. He knows how to be upset and recover. He's angry. He knows how to be angry and recover. So I think there is importance in men.
Nat, I have a
in
question. I have a
mastering-
question for you. I have a question for Nat because
Yeah.
this is the second or third time you've addressed this exact same thing,
Yeah.
and I think you're spot on. How are you so well versed at this exact topic about a man handling his emotions, not succumbing to being emotional, being almost stoic,
Yeah.
playing it cool? And if you know that if dad is crying, some shit has happened, kind
Right.
of you addressed.
Yeah.
How are you so familiar with this?
I mean, my dad, he grew up with all women in the house. So we had a lot of emotions he had to handle. And not only was he handling his own emotions, but he's also handling our emotions as well. So his reaction to our emotions, it also does teach a man how to handle emotions as well.
Oh my God, I just realized something. You have all sisters?
Yeah.
How many women
Well,
are in your
we're
house?
blended, but in the household,
How many
we had
women?
all women, and then our little dog Dante.
How many women?
3, 4. There's 3 girls and my mom, so 4 women, and then our dog. That's a
Okay,
dog, boy.
gotcha. All right, forget about the dog, but shout out to him. So
Dante.
it's your dad and all women in the household.
Yes.
Because I asked you, how are you so familiar with this?
Yes.
Because you've seen your dad,
Yes.
who's a pretty solid dude. Shout out to Marvin.
pretty
And he's
stoic.
just there being a logical actor, making money, successful guy, and he's just dealing with, I'm on my period, and he's just like, stay calm, brother. Don't freak out. Play it fucking cool. Be a stoic. And that's how you learned about your dad, and that's what you learned about being a man.
Yes. And I
Damn.
think that's probably that's something that men should also learn, is that being around women and their emotions, I think that's also a lesson for you to learn how to handle those emotions without you necessarily going through it. You know, like you don't have to go through chaos or turmoil to know like, oh my God, this is so bad. That,
Yeah.
like you can see it and you can experience from an outside perspective and learn and take that information and move with that.
Very powerful. Hopefully everyone listening. By
I'd
the
also
way,
say, I'd also
yeah.
push back a little because people always say like
You
women are
just
the
want to
emotional-
push back on
Well,
everything.
because
I
all the
love
other
it.
standards are so
I can
dumb.
tell you that the
She
sky
brought
is
up a good point.
blue,
Listen,
and
this
you're
is
like, I'm going to
great.
push back on the sky
Listen, well, it
right
depends
now.
on how far up in the atmosphere you are, okay? No. But listen, like the idea that like women are emotional, women are emotional. Okay, men are emotional, and I'm glad she brought this up because
Yeah.
the anger thing is a huge fucking issue, okay?
Yes.
People,
Okay.
guys will say some shit like women are emotional, and then bump into a dude on the street that scuffs his shoes, and then somebody dies like 5 seconds later,
Yes.
okay?
Do you think men and women are equally emotional?
I think that it's very rare that men and women are like equal in anything,
just
except for
like
maybe
if
like
you-
number
I
of
think they have
limbs.
the
Like I'm
ability
saying,
to
I'm
be.
saying by and large, do you think men and women are equally emotional?
Like I would say probably yes, but it's going to be expressed differently in different
Yeah.
ways. So like men are probably, I think men tend to be a little bit more extroverted in their displays of emotion, and women tend to be a little bit more like in their head with it. I think this is a big problem when it comes to child rearing. When little girls cry, the teaching for them is like, hey, you're crying. Why are you crying? Like, let's figure it out. But when boys are upset, they want to like hit something. You say, no, don't do that. So it's like, okay, I can't have emotions as a boy, right? And I think that's something we carry with us throughout like our entire life as young boys into adolescent men, into young men, into adulthood, whereas women are taught from an earlier age to like process their emotions. So it's hard to say like who's more emotional because like women obviously can express it in some areas, men can express it in other areas.
I think you bring up a very good point because we all know that dude, if he steps on a shoe in the club, he's trying to fight you now. but I feel like those guys are few and far between, and those guys are looking for a fight, and those guys probably didn't understand like social dynamics and understand how to handle their emotions as a kid. Moving on.
Okay.
The topic I want to get into
Wait,
now.
answer your question.
Speaking,
I have
what were you
chat,
going to
by
say?
the way.
No, you can go. It's fine.
Okay, moving
Wow.
on. Let's move on because we've got about 20 minutes left, and
Okay,
we're going to
okay.
get to super chats.
Yeah.
I do want to address the face of this toxic masculinity these days, which is none other than our friend Andrew Tate. Now, I'm a fan. I'm a friend. I think he's been sold a bill of goods. We'll see what happens here. The latest news. I saw your episode that you did the other day with
Yeah,
the,
where we covered his how to
Yes.
traffic women guide.
So
Yeah.
this whole loverboy method thing was where
Uh-huh.
you can make women fall in love with you, which is not easy to do, by the way. But you make women fall in love with you, and then you coerce them into sex trafficking. The charges, I guess, against him now are suspicion of human trafficking, sex trafficking, potentially rape. Doubt that. Organizing crime group, and then the easiest ones, well, they'll always get you if they want to get you, are money laundering and tax evasion. That's how they get Capone. That's how they get all these guys, okay? I guess the latest news is he's been detained for an additional 30 days in Romanian prison. I really enjoyed that breakdown you did with the Romanian attorney, basically breaking down the case. You did that, and then Sneeko came on, and I don't know, kind of said his case.
Yeah.
What was that?
What Sneeko was doing to Andrew Tate.
What
in
was
that
Sneeko
conversation.
doing?
Slurping up.
Oh wow! Just slurping
All
up.
you guys do. You guys suck him off so hard.
No, I've called out Tate on a few things.
Okay, all right.
So there's people in the chat. They're like, "Oh, Adam said one bad thing about Tate. He should go to hell now." It's
Yeah.
like, relax, dude. But you interviewed Tate recently. I think you were the last interview of Tate before he went to jail. Okay, so I want to get the panel's basically take on A, what are your thoughts on Tate? Do you think these charges are trumped up? Do you think he's actually going to be seeing real legitimate jail time here? And what will the final outcome be?
So-
you want to go first? Ladies
Well,
first.
I don't know all the facts of the case. I'd like to say so. From what I understand, could you explain more about like?
Well, let's let the man who just did a breakdown.
I don't know.
So Andrew Tate is being accused of essentially he gets women into this like mind state where they're very much into him, and then I think his goal is to get that woman to a dinner with another woman that works for him. He gets that woman to convince the other woman that is like in love with him to like start camming and doing sex work, and I think he flies him out to, I think they were doing their business in Romania. He basically has like this like cam girl sweatshop set up in their basement where he's got all these women working, and then he just kind of like keeps them strung along that way, like doing camming shit, defrauding them on their taxes and stealing money from them, and then doing that indefinitely. And then there's also some of the charges, I think, accused of threats of physical and emotional abuse, I think, as well. And then there was that one threat of, or there was the rape thing too. But I don't know if that was accused to Andrew or if it just said that was about the 4 people. So it might not have been Andrew himself that was accused of that.
But the whole thing is that he said all of this on camera loudly and proudly, meaning, here is my business model. As case example, you're a pretty girl. You want to make some money. You're doing OnlyFans. You're doing all types of video chatting things anyway. Okay? Come with me, and you can make $10,000
Wait,
a
wait.
month.
No,
It
there's
wasn't-
one flaw. He's going for new girls.
Yeah,
not
they
girls who
weren't
are-
girls in the
Okay,
industry.
all right.
Yeah.
So he's recruiting. You have existing salespeople and you have new salespeople. That's how businesses work. I'm just boiling it down to the basic.
can I ask
Hear me
a
out. Hear me out. Before everyone jumps in, you can make $10,000 a month in my business model, but I keep half. Or you can attempt to do it yourself, and you can make $2,000 a month, and you can do it, and you keep 100%. Here are your options. And that's the way that he's broken it down on camera multiple times. So he says, I've seen it consistently. Go out and try to do it on your own. You make less money. Come to me, you'll make more, but I'm also going to make some money. And that's how he made his fucking money, and that's his business model.
The video
Whether
wasn't
he was
for-
doing tax evasion, money laundering, coercion, that's another story. But he's been very open of that's what the business model
The
was.
business model, he wasn't selling it. Or sorry, you want to talk about
No, I just had a question about. So were the girls free to leave the whole time?
that's, I think, a contentious point. I think there were logs leaked where there was talk of passport holding, and that's where the threat of physical and emotional violence come in. But I would have to see what the actual accusations
And
were
the
about it.
accusations what did they accuse him of? You said
Human
rape.
trafficking.
No, rape. It was emotional. You said something.
So
else.
there were 4 people that I don't know if there's been a new press release, but the
Okay.
Romanian document announced 4 people. Andrew Tate being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Of those 4 people, one
Tristan
of them
Tate,
was
his
accused
brother.
of rape.
Yeah.
There was to create a criminal organization. There was sex trafficking, and then there was the money laundering. But I don't think it said specifically who was charged with what. That's my memory of it.
Here's what I'll say.
And-
This is totally my opinion. Totally my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Andrew Tate had 100 girls working for him. Let's just say. And 99 of them were free to leave, all good, do whatever you want, no issues whatsoever. And then there was this one girl who had fucking issues. She threw up in the house and wouldn't clean it up. I think Sneeko brought up this example.
Yeah, that's
right?
what Andrew Tate's friend Sneeko said.
Whatever.
Yes.
I'm just
Say
saying.
that.
I'm giving. I don't.
No,
I
that's
wasn't
fine.
there. I'm not here to clean up the vomit.
No, that's fine.
I'm just saying. I can see how this slippery slope happens. There's this one girl. 99 of the other girls are fine. They're making their money. Whatever. Again, this is my opinion. This one girl does something wrong, throws up, disrespects, talks shit, whatever it was, and now there's an issue with this one girl. And they're going to take this issue with this one girl that he held her passport or he wronged her or he physically harassed her because this one girl was acting up. So now you want to take this one case and paint this broad brush around this dude that he's just raping and pillaging women galore. And that to me is, I think, unfair.
Okay,
because
hold on.
I don't
Wait,
think
but you
that's
have-
what he
you don't
was
even
doing.
know first of all, we
Again,
already
I
know-
said that is my opinion.
Sure. If he's doing what he said he did in his videos, he is a sex trafficker. Full stop.
Like what?
He says that he gets girls to fall in love with him. He says that he brings them to a dinner with another girl that's working for him with the express intent of that girl to convince this girl.
Wait, but did she freely choose to do it?
It-
I just don't. I'm sorry. If I'm thinking, okay, I'm putting myself in these girls' shoes. I get a boyfriend, right? And the boyfriend convinces me to do cam work. That was my decision.
That's
That
great
was
that you
my
think that.
decision.
That's cool.
Personal
No,
decisions,
I just
personal
feel like I'm so
responsibility.
That's great that you think that.
Can you not cut me
It's
off?
sex
Can you
tra-
not cut me off? Like, I'm just tired of like we're gonna blame the men for your poor decision. You picked to do it.
That's great that you feel that way, but it's still sex trafficking. Your personal feelings don't matter. That's
By the
still
way,
sex
you're a
trafficking.
European girl living in the former
Okay.
USSR. You have no other job options, and you're
Yeah.
hot and you're young.
Sure, or
Boom.
oftentimes-
time to
And
start doing
then-
sex
and
They
then-
work.
weren't
Information that
complaining
hasn't-
about the money. They weren't complaining about the money.
But he was actively stealing from them.
Yeah, he admits
not
that.
actively-
He does admit
He
that.
literally said,
Yeah.
when you're filling out these dumb women's tax forms, you can lie to them about the tax forms and take 20, 40% off the top. He
That is
literally
where
said that.
I think you were right.
Yeah.
That is
Okay.
where I think you were
But
right.
even though-
Hear me out.
I was
That
going
is
off-
where I think they will get him.
Yeah.
No,
Because
even hold on, no. Even I think you described at that point, even if they willingly chose all the time, it's still sex trafficking. If I fly to another country,
Yeah.
bring you to a country where you don't speak the language, lock you in a basement, and then tell you like, hey, stream it, I'll cut you.
not a
That's
lawyer.
sex trafficking.
But for me, that's definition-wise. Maybe you're right.
Okay,
maybe you're
okay.
wrong. I don't know.
That's great.
That to me is not sex trafficking.
That's fine.
Because I agree with Pearl. These women knew what they were doing. They
Mm-hmm.
knew what they were signing up for. They were free to leave. He wasn't holding their passports. But if he was skimming money off the top with taxes,
Yeah.
that's what they'll
Sure.
get.
So
you.
these are the 2 stages, and I agree that that's what you're going to say because I know that's what all the Tate fans are going to say. First, they're going to say he didn't do it, and then when they said he did do it, and it's obviously clearly sex trafficking, then it's going to be, oh, okay, well, sure, he's sex trafficking, but it's okay. That's not even like real sex trafficking, or who cares about sex trafficking? They chose to go to another country where they didn't speak the language. He was stealing money from them, and they were locked in for the first
what
time ever
about
doing
that?
sex
So
work.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Romanian legal system. I don't know the definition of that. Okay, I'm not going to pretend
You don't
I do.
have
I'm sorry.
a major
It
Sex
may-
trafficking
Romanian
is
law.
pretty international. It's an international thing, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't study sex trafficking.
Okay.
It's not my area of expertise. But my question is, what is incorrect about that statement? Do you not think the women should take accountability for the choices that they made?
They should, but that's besides the point.
You can take accountability. I'm
Like-
not asking
like-
about what the punishment should be for the women. They probably been punished enough. I imagine if they worked and had money stolen from them.
Mm-hmm.
What we're talking about was what Andrew Tate did, which is sex trafficking, right? There are probably women that make bad decisions.
Allegedly.
Why, but I'm saying, why is
That's what
it-
he's charged with. That's what
Why
he's
is
charged with.
Allegedly.
it? Why
Let's
is
just
it?
be
Why
clear
is it
about
wrong
that.
if they
It's not
freely chose to do
proven.
it?
Why is it wrong if I get somebody in a relationship with me and then I'm able to flip that into them working as a prostitute for me?
You freely chose to do it. I just think there's nobody. I couldn't date a single guy that could make me want to do that.
That's great for
I'm-
you, but
I'm
we're not, this
sorry.
isn't about you. This
But
story isn't about you.
but
though.
Destiny,
I'm
I
saying-
love how passionate you are and the words you use, but we have to be careful. These aren't prostitutes. They are. Hear me out.
Sex workers.
They are.
Sorry.
They are on camera doing cam girl shit. At any point, they can turn off their camera. At any point, they can say, "I don't feel like it today." but they're doing it to make money. This is a job so they can make money.
OnlyFans.
Now, OnlyFans, hello.
Except they're in another country where they don't speak the language.
What do you mean
where
they
they're
don't speak the language?
This
They're
is
in
like saying
Europe.
anybody at any time could go and buy and sell the right options, the right puts or calls to be a billionaire. That's true. But the hard part is making the picks, right? If you're flown to a whole other fucking country, and you've got some dude that you think is your fucking boyfriend that's in love with you, and now you're doing sex work for the first time in your life. You don't speak the language around here. The guy's stealing money from you. Who knows if you even know how to fucking
I'm sorry,
book it,
unless these girls are beyond naive. If they
Sure,
see
and that's
99
fine.
other girls there,
Okay, cool.
they don't think this is my boyfriend and he loves me.
That's great, and
he's
that's
like,
fine.
now I'm a part of a harem.
There's literally a name for the method.
Hold
That's why
on.
it's called the loverboy method. This is exactly
Yes.
what they do. But if you don't care about sex trafficking, that's fine. And a lot of people
No,
apparently now,
that-
find out they don't care about sex trafficking, which is cool.
I'm not saying
but
I
like,
don't care about sex trafficking. Would you say that there's the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking, and then there's the Tate thing, and they're not even fucking close,
Yeah, sure.
right?
Yeah.
What?
Go,
Why?
state your case.
I don't. What's the definition of sex traffic? I don't. I just
Here's
would think
Natalia.
because here's.
I got you.
I would
There's
just.
three
This
factors.
is just.
I
Wait,
agree,
wait, wait.
Pearl.
I would
Well,
just. I would just think that it was that you aren't free to go. That's what I thought. I
Right.
thought it's only sex trafficking if they're underage or they can't leave. That's what
Okay.
I thought.
No. You said there's three things?
I believe there is. I watched some legal breakdown. There's got to be physical pressure, or physical violence, coercion, and one more.
It's force, fraud, and coercion.
Yeah, fraud
Yes.
and coercion. Yeah.
So fraud is
the
gonna be
fraud
stealing
is
the
the taking the
taxes.
money. The coercion we don't really know about because we don't know what the evidence
Because
the police has.
that's all he says. She said. Right now.
Well, right now, but we don't
now.
know what evidence the police has. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I think the only reasonable position is to be agnostic until you see what develops of the case.
Yeah.
Here's I think the biggest point here. Tate has become famous for talking that shit on social media, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, and what will make you famous will also
fuck you in the ass.
will fucking put your ass in jail. And that's the problem that he's having right now. I do this is how I make my money. I'm a badass. It's like, yo, this guy's sick. Let me follow this guy. You're going to jail for the exact same reason. That's the problem that he's going to have.
going to jail for.
Yeah, what are you talking?
This is such bullshit.
He said
He's going to jail because he's in an Eastern European country that wants to be taken seriously on the world stage, and he's bragging about sex trafficking in the fucking country. That's why he got charged. He's going to
That's
jail.
what exactly,
Literally my
that's
point.
exactly
Yeah,
what
but
he's
that's not.
saying.
But Andrew Tate isn't known for telling young men how to sex traffic. He's known for challenging the matrix and challenging the system.
No,
but now
he-
people are trying to. People are
that's
trying
not
to.
true.
He's been-
he
he's
has a
been
whole
talking
course
about
about
the-
that.
yeah.
He might have been talking about it, but that's not why he gained popularity, and that's not why people are saying he's being targeted by Romania or the Western world. People are saying, "Oh, they're targeting him because he's telling young men
No,
how
the,
to break free of the
the
matrix
point
and be
he's
independent."
making is the fact that he's bragged about it so much
You've
publicly
said
is
it
what's
so
going
many
to
times.
bug him, and that it's what's going to
if you
want
to know what I think Tate stands for, what I actually think he stands for, it's not. Okay, he talks about the matrix and the system, and he has very loudly talked about how he makes his money and the cam girls, and he talks about whether he's toxic masculinity, what he's labeled as. What I actually think Tate stands for is just male self-improvement, getting in the gym, going to being a badass, making money, and if you make the money, you get the women, you get the Bugattis. But he's talking about becoming a better version of yourself. But nobody wants to talk about that. They want to talk about being a sex trafficker. They want to talk about him doing all the fucking ridiculous things out there. That to me is his message, but it gets masked by all this other nonsense. So here's my next question to you. Let's say Tate is innocent. Let's just say Tate is innocent. Go with me here. Who do you think is pulling the strings trying to get him fucking set up and put in jail? Go with me here. Who do you think is? Do you think it's corporations? You think it's governments?
Greta, for sure.
You think it's Greta Thunberg? You think it's the World Economic Forum? You think it's the U.S. government? You think it's like? Let's just say Tate's innocent, and he hasn't done any of this. Innocent until proven guilty, ladies and gentlemen. Who do you think is saying this fucking Tate guy? We got to bring this motherfucker down.
I don't think there
Who's
needs to
doing
be.
it?
I don't think there needs to be a big conspiracy. I think it can be as simple as either a prosecutor doesn't like him and makes the wrong decision. Sometimes police mess up, or it could be the U.S. Embassy put a little pressure on Romania. That could have also happened. But I don't think there's this big international conspiracy.
So you
going
don't
on.
think it goes to some top
No,
World
I don't.
Economic Forum
No, I
matrix
don't believe in that.
situation? Charles Schwab, Chuck Schwab,
I've heard that name so much.
World
that-
Economic Forum.
No,
you'll
the Charles Schwab.
you'll own nothing and be happy.
I'm not that deep into the red pill yet. There's like layers, so I haven't hit the like they call it the deep state,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that the Pizzagate?
Yes.
I don't know.
All right.
I
Well,
don't
you're
know that.
familiar with this world. Go crazy with me. Go conspiracy theory.
If I was going full
who is
conspiracy,
at the top saying
the
we
top
have
would
to
be
bring this
some
man
Romanian
down?
official who's like, our country is trying to be taken more seriously. Okay, Eastern European countries are like, I think, vying for validity from the West, and now we've got a guy that's in our country, flagrantly talking about and bragging about sex trafficking. So we're gonna take this guy down. If I was to entertain a conspiracy, that would be my guess of where it would come
I
from.
would say this, is that he talks about corruption, right? And he goes, every country's corrupt. Every country's corrupt. Now, do you want to be in a country like the West? Because Tate talks very badly about United States, the West, UK, London, EU, doesn't speak highly above it. That's why he likes more Eastern Europe, Dubai, he's converted to Islam. He talks about the fact that in Romania, he's like, I like the fact that I could just go give a bag of cash and get out of the corruption and just pay it off.
Well, it hasn't worked this time.
Exactly.
The bag's not
and
big
that's
enough.
why I think that he talks about the sex trafficking. I think that there's some prosecutor in Romania, like if you want to go there, there's some prosecutor in Romania or some judge or some, legal aristocrat, whoever, that's like, oh, right? Okay, bro. Well, test me. You're in my country. Let's see if we're that corrupt. And I think there's maybe somebody with a bone to pick. But so maybe it's not the Charles Schwabs of the world and the Greta Thunbergs of the world and the Matrix. Maybe it's just some dude in Romania.
The reality, too, is that when you talk about corruption, there's going to be different types of corruption, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if I could go to a place like Romania and get a speeding ticket and pay off the cop. Maybe more than I could in the United States. But double
Yes.
homicide, that's probably a different
Yeah.
thing. So the idea that
There's
all
levels to
corruption
this.
is the same and you
I
can
think
pay off
that's-
anybody for anything, probably not true.
I think
I've
that's a
heard
very
that
good example.
If you're
Yes,
in
you're right.
Romania and you are doing anything involved with casinos, you're, greasing wheels or greasing gears with pretty bad people. That's just a given.
You're affiliated with bad people, yes.
Absolutely. That has to be the case.
Yes.
But I don't think that means you can get away with blatantly sex trafficking or raping or killing or doing crazy shit
Especially
like
if you're not a high-profile figure. If
Sure.
you are a high-profile figure.
Huh. All right, so give me your prediction. What's going to happen to Tate in 30 days? Prediction.
Me first?
Yeah.
I like to wait until the facts of the case are out. It could go either way. It could be that
How
a couple
diplomatic
women,
of you.
Well, because it could be that a couple women gave testimony. They
Yeah.
can't validate it anywhere else. They've got maybe a couple whatever text messages and that's it. And then nothing comes of it. It could be that he didn't do anything actually that wrong. Maybe they
Yeah.
did all freely choose to go there. They thought they could make some money. They weren't happy with the money they made, and now they came back and they're trying to burn him. It could be that he actually did engage in a whole bunch of fucked up shit, and we're going to see way more released from the Romanian authorities. But it could be anything.
How about
so-
this? I'm going to re-ask the question because
Oh,
forget
okay.
about predictions. Who knows what's going to happen because it's very easy to say, let's just wait for the case comes out. How about this? Let's just keep it simple. Do you think that Tate, who has taken the internet by storm over the last 6-12 months, do you think he's a net negative or a net positive for society and specifically young men? What do you think, Alex?
I would say net positive overall.
Net positive.
Yeah.
Why?
There's some things he says that are a little cringe that I disagree with, but overall about making men more masculine, taking accountability, working out, getting your finances in order, those are all good messages.
Fully agree. How about you, Pearl? You've interviewed him. You sat with him. You're the last one of us to actually see him in the flesh. Net negative or net positive for society?
I would say net positive. I think most of his message is about self-improvement.
I agree.
So yeah, I would say net
Yeah.
positive.
But it's easy to call him a chauvinist and a misogynist, but that's a negative thing these days, is telling men to improve. How about you? Back to you. Do you think he's a net
What do you think?
net negative or net
I
positive?
say net. Do we need another guide here saying go to the gym, get your finances in order, be a man? I don't know how much uniqueness he's offering there that's valid.
You have to admit that he's very unique, bro.
Is he really? I mean, he is in the hyper consumerist, look at all my fucking cars sense. But I don't know.
I think that's bullshit. I think if he was just,
You
Okay,
can't
what are
argue-
some-
he's-
I think if he
he's
was Ubering everywhere,
he's
the message would be
impacted
just
more
as
people
powerful.
Probably in 6 months than most people have in
Yes.
their entire
I
career.
think you're
He
doing
has
it-
reached
I-
people
I
that were
think-
never involved in
You said he's
self-improvement.
unique. Give me some unique messages from Tate.
Well, no,
It doesn't have to be a unique message. It's about the impact.
Yeah.
And you can't. I
You can't
interview
deny the
people on the
impact. Fully
street
agree.
all the time, young kids, and they're the biggest Tate fans. I have never seen anyone with that much of a reach.
yeah, but I
it's
mean, I don't know if my 11-year-old son was a huge Tate fan. That would very scare me.
All right, well, then let me flip it on
me.
you.
Yeah.
Who do you want your 11-year-old son to admire, and you can't say a video gamer?
I can't say a video game.
Can't say it. Who do you want your 11-year-old? This goes back to the young destiny of who he was going to look up to. If it's not someone like Tate, who do you want your 11-year-old son looking up to these days?
Damn. I would say that probably it would be relevant to whatever career he wanted to go into.
He's
So if he
11 years
wanted
old.
to-
Who gives a shit about
Well,
career?
yeah, so right now
Who
he
do you-
looks up to fucking
being-
movie characters. He likes Spider-Man
Okay.
and shit like that. So I
Okay.
think Marvel superheroes are probably okay for kids to
All
look
right,
up to.
that's
Yeah,
fair.
sure.
So
they're not real,
a lot of young kids would say that he's the closest thing to that in real life.
A super-
Kickboxer, badass, smart, good with women, driving Bugattis, living in mansions, smoking cigars, will fuck you up and fuck your girl. kind of a badass.
Yeah, but like 5 out of 9 of those things, like I don't want my kid fantasizing about Bugattis, mansions, people that girls. Or,
Yeah, Bugatti is just a means to an end. It means you've made money, and so you have a Bugatti. Listen, I have enough money to buy a nice supercar. I'd rather just keep my money in the bank because I'd like Ubering everywhere. It's just a sign of wealth. It's not like
I don't believe
like to
that.
me it's a little
No.
excessive to have. I've got 19 supercars. It's like you only really need one.
You can't, when you
Okay.
make that the focal point so often, I
I
don't think you can
agree.
retreat behind the like, oh no, well, I'm just saying this will happen as a result of your wealth.
I
This is
agree.
like the goal for a lot of
I
people.
agree, but I think a lot of it is that's his caricature, right? It wouldn't be surprised
Okay,
me
Well, it gives
if you
young
didn't.
men something to strive for. I
Yeah,
don't
strive
think
for Bugattis?
why is it wrong? Okay, I grew up in the most. Like the comments will always say like these are the cheapest rich people I've ever seen. Like y'all rich, but you look broke. And,
Us?
the comment section. My family.
Oh.
Like so
Us?
I grew up
Shit.
around frugal rich people. Like I
Yes.
understand the concept, but it's just like why is it bad for men to want to strive to have 20 supercars?
Because putting you in a mindset where you think that material things are going to improve your life, like spiritually, or improve your life in like a holistic, like psychological sense, it's a path that I've watched so many people go down before. You spent the first half of this
It's
program.
not
shouldn't
to say that's the only thing, but
No, it is.
can't you
Yeah.
acknowledge that there is some benefit in striving to make a lot of money?
No, never.
Yes.
I don't
No,
think
no, no,
if
no,
you're
no.
selling to a
Really?
young man ever, it would never be like, if you do this, you can have a supercar. That would never be part of your talking points.
I act like you're
I
talking to
just feel like
someone
this
that
is
has
like nitpicking.
Hold
Like
on.
this is nitpicking
Yes.
over
I
Yes.
mean, this is like half of the fucking videos that circulate with him
Oh
on the
no,
internet.
he
Is
has
like,
too much. He has
look at
too
my.
much stuff that he talks
For some
about.
reason, I'm like obsessed with this straw man argument thing because you've used it a few
What
times.
straw? This is literally
Hear
what he
me
talks
out,
about.
bro.
I'm hearing you.
You
Go.
only can talk at one time.
Okay.
You're talking to somebody that doesn't have a car
Okay.
because he doesn't want to fucking drive, and I like being Ubered around. But I could buy a Maserati for $100,000, no problem. But I prefer not to.
Okay.
So for me to defend Tate, just understand the fact that I'm not a car guy. The message is not about the Bugatti. The Bugatti is the reward after doing everything he talks about in his message. Becoming better, faster, stronger, cooler, wealthier, sexier, healthier, all that. Then you can get the Bugatti. But don't get lost in the sauce. That is the message. And once you make the money and get the fame and get the success, if you want to go buy a fucking what color is your Bugatti, go for it. Or buy 19. But to say, oh, Tate, he's got a bad message because of the Bugatti, that's the carrot at the end, like to like motivate you. But that's not the reason that you're in the gym every day. That's not the reason that you're working your ass off. That's not the reason that you're trying to improve. It's like, that's why I was saying it's like a straw man argument that it's all about material. It's not. That's like the payoff at the end. But like the essence of what he's doing is male self-improvement. And I think you would agree with that, no?
That's the biggest cope I've ever heard in my life.
Cope?
Biggest
Yeah,
cope.
that
What
was
does that
so
mean?
much cope.
Cope of what?
Where are the videos showing that like if you live like a fulfilling life, this is what awaits you at the end? Maybe it's a happy marriage. Maybe it's like good friendships. Like maybe it's like a family that you love and care for. Maybe it's like participation in your community.
Yeah, but if you're
It's all
talking
these
to an
things-
18-year-old kid,
don't
what's
care
your
about
family?
that.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about? They want to
That's
fucking
fine.
get laid and
That's
get
okay.
paid.
Sure, that's
it.
fine.
You sound
But
like a girl.
If get laid
He
and get
sounds like a
paid-
girl.
That's like what girls say.
If-
Are you calling Destiny
No,
a girl?
these are the
That's no-
Christian conservative values that you guys hide behind when you want clicks, but none of you actually give a fuck about. Okay, this is what they actually talk about.
Christian,
If you've ever been
when
in a
have you
church your
ever heard
entire
me talk
life,
about
okay?
Jesus? I
When I
don't
say
even
you
talk-
guys, I mean red pill in general. Are all
What are
doing
you-
this Christian
I'm
aesthetic.
not a red pill guy. I
you talking
interview a
about?
lot of red pill.
You're talking about fulfillment, self-improvement, all these things. Okay,
I've never even talked about religion.
if you're trying to sell somebody a car at 18 and that's where the focal point is 19, 20, 21, do you think that magically at 25 they're going to be like, oh shit, I've had my eyes on the car the whole time, but like, man, I've got like a lot more fulfillment in my life now? Like,
Yeah,
that's not
dude.
gonna happen.
I used to want to fuck a million girls and I have a girlfriend. Like, yeah, of course. Your attitudes change as you get older. He's preaching traditional masculinity, which is attractive to a lot of men. It's like the James Bond type of fantasy. It's like, yeah, good with girls, good at fighting, have a nice car. But yeah, you get at some point where you experience that and it gets old, and maybe you do settle down, or maybe you don't.
I've just
But what
I've
you're
had it in
saying
my
is not gonna
family. I've
sound
seen it
sexy to
personally. There
anyone.
are so many people that fall down the consumerist hole I've seen it happen. It's
Yeah,
happened in
that
my
would be
own
like
family.
my one criticism of
But
Andrew Tate too.
Well, but that is like his major fucking
I don't
selling
think
point, and that's
so.
what Adam is defending. Yeah, it's like look at the cars, like the car's the prize.
No,
but
I
eventually,
don't think-
you'll get the car as a result of doing all those
that's
other
why
things.
I said that I'm not a car guy, so I can't be defending
Yeah,
getting
because
a
you're
car.
trying to put yourself on
Because-
trial to defend his person. But I'm not
No,
attacking you.
I'm just, but what I'm saying is, it's easy. This is what I was saying with the straw man. It's easy to take his message and be like, he's just all about materialism and Bugattis, when that's not the message. It's work harder, get better, and once you do all that and increase your status, then you can get the car. You're focusing on all he talks about is getting a car.
Have you ever watched like his full War Room streams?
War Room streams, no, but I've seen like some of his long form content where he's
okay, so but you've never watched like a full War Room
War Room
stream?
stream, no.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Bro, you're so adorable. Just ask questions. No point there. Just want to know.